It is an Olympic year, and we have Maggie Hendricks from the Olympic Channel talking about USA basketball, Belgium and Emma Meesman, some up-and-coming African countries, and more. Locked on Women's Basketball starts now.
Ogunbowale for the win.
You are Locked On Women's Basketball, your daily podcast on women's basketball.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Locked On Women's Basketball. Happy Monday to you. I apologize. Missy Heydrich is on assignment, so you're stuck with me for the Monday show, but I'm excited about it anyway, and Maggie Hendricks is here to carry the day, so you stick around for her. Thank you for showing up for us every day the way we show up for you 6 days a week. Over 175,000 of you listening in January alone. We are on track to break that mark in February, although full disclosure, only 29 days in February. So we'll see how the math works out, but very excited. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Truly, we don't want to know about it. Wherever you get them, just subscribe to Locked On Women's Basketball. Of course, it is not just me. It is the entire team over at thenexthoops.com, where we have over 100 reported pieces every single month. $9 a month, $72 a year. Support the work that is being done. I don't know if you've heard, but media collapsing everywhere. Make sure you're supporting the folks who are doing it. And let me tell you a folk who is doing it, and that is the great Maggie Hendricks, who is, full disclosure, both a friend and a colleague who I have unending respect for. She was out at the very high stakes qualifying tournament for USA Basketball. Maggie, take us through it. If USA Basketball had won or USA Basketball had lost at this qualifying tournament, what was the practical effect for USA Basketball?
It was absolutely nothing. Because they won the 2022, and I've written this sentence so many times in the past week, but because they won the 2022 FIBA World Cup, the one where they were in Australia, that was right after the Aces won their first championship. And it was one of those things that like happened so quickly, but because they won that, they honestly, there was nothing that was going to keep them from going to the Olympics. But at the same time, they get so few chances to play together that they need to take the opportunities when they can. And when you have an international window opened up in the Euro leagues and actually all of the overseas leagues, you just got to take those opportunities. And so they did.
It makes sense. It's interesting to me about the team that was selected, the team that was not selected. Obviously, it seems like there's going to be some gaps between those two things. And frankly, even what we're going to see come this summer at the Olympics. So we're going to get into that. Segment one, talking about USA Basketball. Segment two, we're going to get into some knock-on effects from the tournament, but also we have to talk about Belgium. We have to talk about players like Sierra Dillard. So we have a lot to get into across the world as well. Not an ethnocentric podcast. Thank you very much. But let us begin with USA Basketball. The wins came eventually easily, but not so much in that game number one. So take us through, so the listeners are aware, what happened against Belgium and just kind of your top lines, like what you saw from that first game, that first challenge.
Well, Belgium, and remember the Belgium team, they're led by Emma Meesman, who we all know finals MVP in WNBA All-Star. Just an all-around great player who I think has actually gotten better since we last saw her in the W, which is incredible to think about. But she led this team that then also Julie Van Loo, who's going to be on the Mystics this summer. They had so many players who were so focused on getting that win over the U.S. And the U.S., on the other hand, looked like looked like they had jet lag. And hey, I had jet lag, so I understood it. I understood being a little off. They looked like a team that hadn't played together much, which they haven't.
Right.
So, they just it took them a while to get their bearings. And I believe they went into the halftime with something like Belgium was up something like 10, 12 points. And Belgium led until I think 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter when Sabrina Ionescu hit a three-pointer to tie things up, and then it was just tight. It was tight, tight, tight. It was tied with 4.5 seconds left. Kelsey Plum hit or tried to make it from just a two-pointer from maybe 10, 12 feet out. Didn't go. And Breanna Stewart did as we have seen her do, and as I was reminded by Liberty fans, we have seen her not do, which is just get that put back right back in. And I mean, it was a millisecond before that buzzer went off, and they had to check it and everything. But the U.S. won by the skin of their teeth over Belgium.
How Belgian friendly was the crowd? I know it was a record for the country. 13,700, I believe, was the number, 13,700, which is a big number there. Was it just entirely pro-Belgium? Had Team USA fans traveled at all?
It was entirely pro-Belgium. It was,
So
I'm
that's
used
a tough atmosphere for USA basketball to go win.
It was, and it wasn't like an anti-USA atmosphere, to be clear. It was just super pro-Belgian. And I mean, from the second the Belgian crowd or the Belgian players walked onto the court, they started going nuts for him. They were all decked out in their black, red, and gold and like yelling at every second. I mean, it was incredible. It was an incredible environment to be in, but it couldn't have been easy for the US to play in that, to play knowing that other than there were some players' wives and like relatives and things like that in the crowd, but that was it. There were no other American fans there. So it was probably 13,650 were for Belgium. And I do want to make a remark on that number. That is now the largest crowd for a women's event ever in Belgium, a women's sporting event. It had been held by the soccer team, and that was like around 9,000, and this just blew it out of the water.
It's a big deal. And to talk about some of the personnel, because that's in segment 2 where I really want to get into, not just in this game, but throughout what Nafisa Collier did, what this team looks like and what it needs, I think are both really interesting questions to me. So back with that in segment 2, Maggie Hendricks here. You are listening to Locked on Women's Basketball. Locked on Women's Basketball is brought to you by Grammarly. No matter what kind of work you do, how you communicate is key. All those emails, reports, presentations are all equally important to the collaboration needed to get things done, and Grammarly can help. 96% of Grammarly users report that Grammarly helps them craft more impactful writing. Make a bigger impact at work with Grammarly. Sign up and download for free at grammarly.com/podcast. That's GRAMMARLY.com/podcast. Easier said, done. Segment 2, I'm back with Maggie Hendricks talking about the qualifying tournament that wasn't, but was. I don't know. Like, do you call it a qualifying tournament if you've already qualified? Isn't it just then a tournament?
Well, I mean, it is not it for the US maybe, but Belgium and Nigeria needed those wins. So
Yeah,
and that I know we're going to talk more about the other teams later, but like if that Nigeria Senegal game was truly the most important game of the weekend, because whoever was going to win that was going to get that third spot.
and a really high level game. We're going to get to for that in segment 3 as well. But just to kind of break things down a little bit, so we saw Nafisa Collier get 23 points in that win over Belgium. Obviously, USA Basketball needed every bit of that. How central to this team is Fee going to be? You always see this kind of, the players that rise up and get not just an opportunity to be on the squad, but an opportunity to star for the team. Is that where Fee's going to be for this team?
I absolutely think that's where Fee is going to be. And there's a few reasons for that. Number one, obviously, she knows what Cheryl Reeve wants better than most of the other players on the team. You know, she hangs out and she spends enough time with Cheryl Reeve that she knows exactly what Cheryl Reeve is going to be asking of the team at all times. But beyond that, I think that something that's important with Fee is both her youth and her maturity makes it so that, like, think about the age range on this team. You had Aaliyah Boston on one end and Diana Taurasi on the other. That's 17, 18 years. That's not a small thing. And somebody like Fee, who while she is young and she's been to it's so funny to say this, she's been to just one Olympics.
Oh, just one.
Just one. But with Team USA, there is a just there, you know? But
Taurasi going to her, check me my math on this, her 11th Olympics, right?
She will be going to her, I believe this will be her 6th.
Okay.
Or it's either 6th or 7th. I'm bad at the math, but it's whatever it is. If Diana goes and Diana wins a medal, she will become the most decorated team Olympian of all time. So like it is, whoo. But anyway, back to Nafisa. But while she is young, she is also very mature. You know, she's a mom. She has been through some of the ups and downs of the W. And that, I think, makes it so that she's very comfortable working with some of the older players who have been around. But then, like she mentioned in the press conference, that she had also kind of been, like she had been talking to Ryan Howard and Aaliyah Boston about how to do this, like how to be an international player and play at these tournaments and know where to go and what, you know, I mean, and even like what time we are where, all of those little things that might make a first timer anxious.
Right.
Fee was already there to help them get rid of that anxiety. So I really think she's going to be important, not just because of her play, which, I mean, she just looked next level. She looked so comfortable. And Cheryl Reeve said she just is so good at doing the everyday things really well. Mm-hmm. And that's what it is. I mean, she makes those 10-foot shots without any question. And she does incredible stuff, but makes it look so easy. So I really think this is going to be an important year for Nafisa Collier because of where she is, and then also her maturity level.
It does feel like there is another level for her to reach with the W as well. I think part of it because she's so quiet about it. She's just so matter of fact about it. Like you said, that maturity level, like that dates back to the UConn days. She was a grown up as a college student, and that has obviously continued as we see her doing that here.
Well, I gotta tell you something about that.
Please.
When I was with USA Today, they would have me cover the McDonald's All-American game. Mm-hmm. And there was me and then one of our high school like experts. And I would say, I'll go cover the girls. You cover the boys. I know the recruiting for the boys is a much bigger. Let me go do it. And sure. I interviewed Nafisa and Katie Lou together when they were like 17. Right. And I remember walking away from that about Nafisa was like, I was definitely not like, I'm not that self-assured now. When I was a grown up, and the 17-year-old was way more self-assured than I was, you know, it was just like self-possessed. It was so impressive. So you're 100% right. She's always been that person.
It's fascinating to see, and it's obviously redounded to her benefit as a player as well as a mom, which is a whole other conversation, and delightful to see. But just to get back to Fee, the player, for a moment. You look at this team and you look at minutes, and I'm always so reluctant to say, you know, gee, I'm going to read the tea leaves out of the minutes that were played this weekend. But so, for instance, Aaliyah Boston didn't play in the game against Belgium, and she gets like 20 minutes in the following 2 games apiece, playing without Brittany Griner. And you know, there's obviously an open question: is BG going to be the starting center on this team by the time Paris rolls around, and it's more complicated than just a question of her level of play, because, to go overseas, to be able to do all of those things are fraught for a person who has been through what Brittany Griner has been through, that no one else on that team has been through. But I ask all that by way of saying it does seem like Cheryl's very comfortable playing a little bit smaller. Brianna Stewart got 31 minutes in that first game against Belgium. In those scenarios where Fee is a 4, I mean, it's harder to put labels on it because of the free-flowing offense. Do you see an opportunity for her to be that? And then just the reverse of it is, in bigger lineups, do you see Fee at the 3 as a good fit, given the personnel that we're looking at for this team?
I think the main thing she showed this weekend was flexibility, was her ability to do whatever was asked of her. I mean, and we've seen that too with Minnesota, when she would when Kayla McBride was scoring big. So then it was that changed what Fee's role was, and it was fine. So I think that that's going to be one of the reasons why she will be a star on this team. And I
Mhm.
think it's also, if I'm trying not to segue, but it's also one of the reasons why I think Ryan Howard has a pretty good shot of making this team, because she showed her flexibility this weekend, and she showed that she is able to go hard on defense, Ryan. Okay. Go make some shots. Okay. Like she's going to do whatever is asked of her. And I think flexibility is the main thing a player has to show when they're trying to show to the committee that they should be on the team.
Yeah.
And Fee, once again, in teaching those younger players, she didn't just tell them that, she showed them that.
The flip side of that, of course, is Diana Taurasi, and we know what Diana can do. And this is to take nothing away from what she has been as a player throughout her career, and she has earned these gold medals, and she is, one of the legends of this game. But it is fair to ask the question, when Taurasi is someone who I guess you can play her some time at the 1. She's, typically more of a 2, especially in the international game. She's not somebody who necessarily excels at the defensive end, I guess is the better way to put it. That's a very definite, defined, specific, narrow lane. Take me through. I saw you reporting on it that Cheryl said that she just forgot to put Tarazi in the game in the second one. What do you make of the whole thing? And should she be in Paris, whether she is or not? Should she be?
Well, so here's the thing that I saw happen
Mhm.
with Diana. First of all, the first quarter, I'm pretty sure that the lineup that they had at the very beginning of the game against Nigeria, they kept it for the first quarter, and I believe that was like Alyssa Thomas, Brianna Stewart, Fee. I can't remember Jewel Lloyd, who the other ones were. Maybe Jackie Young wasn't in that, but
Right.
that was the lineup. And I remember seeing the lineup and thinking, like, I don't ever want to walk into any of those people, because I'm pretty sure I would get a bruise. I'd like bounce off of them. That it was just like that. Oh, Kelsey Plum. There we go. That's the other one, which
God,
makes
no.
sense to that group.
Yes.
But in Cheryl Reeves said she wanted to stick with this group and as long as she could, to see how they played together, see if they were getting chemistry. And then it was maybe midway through the second quarter, after there had been some changes, I see Diana take her shirt off, because I'd noticed Diana hadn't been in the game yet,
Mhm.
and go to the thing, and then all of a sudden there was like some change in play that needed a different player, and I see Cheryl Reeves start laughing and say, "No, Diana, you're not going in now." And then at that point, she wasn't warm enough. That's the other thing is like, can you send in Aaliyah Boston when she hasn't played or warmed up? Yeah, because she's 23. Can you do
Right.
that to a 40-year-old?
Mm.
No.
Yeah.
It's not the same thing. So it was definitely that thing of like, she wasn't warm enough to play, and she didn't need to.
Mhm.
There wasn't that. As far as Paris, I think first of all, number one is, if Diana wants to go to Paris, she's going to Paris. I think we all know that. I mean, I cannot imagine a world where the US doesn't want to have the most decorated team athlete of all time. That's
Yep.
number one. But number two, I think it's also really important to recognize outside of what's on the court, what DT brings to this team. And something I hear again and again and again out of Team USA basketball women is how they are caretakers, that it is their job to take all those gold medals that have been won by all those women before them, keep that streak going for all the women that are coming after them.
Mm-hmm.
Diana understands that better, I think, than anybody, not just because she played, but because Diana really seems to care about the legacy of USA basketball and the legacy of the future. When I talked to her in November at the Team USA training camp, that was one of the main things she was talking about. And having someone on the team who can help the other players understand that legacy before she moves on, that's not a small thing. That's not a tiny thing. And her leadership is not a small thing. Like even like when she was leading the players through, because I noticed it because she was Kalia Copper was right next to her, and I was like, oh, they're teammates, sad. But watching that go through and the players like Diana started warming up and they all started going with her. It was that kind of thing. So I don't know if she is going to be able to bring everything that she really needs to on the court. I honestly don't know. But I also think it's really important to make sure we realize that it's not just on the court stuff that matters with D.
It's not just names on a list. It is a human endeavor to have a team. So back with one more name who wasn't on the list, who I want to ask you about whether she should be on the list for reasons beyond just even on the court, right? And then we're also going to we have to talk Nigeria, Senegal, because it's fascinating. And Sierra Dillard is always someone I want to talk about. So back after this in segment 3 with Maggie Hendricks. But first, are you the kind of driver that likes to push things a little further? Ever wonder what adventure could be around the next corner? Our friends at Nissan have a lineup of SUVs with the capabilities to take your adventure to the next level. Take the 2024 Nissan Road. It's perfect for city drives, great escapes. The 2024 Road is the perfect midsize crossover for your next adventure. Need a little bigger? Go Pathfinder. Has room up to 8. 6,000 pounds of towing capacity and 284 horsepower. When adventure calls, the Pathfinder is there to answer. Or the Nissan Armada, a full-size SUV, even bigger than the Pathfinder with a rugged 4x4, up to 8 in first-class luxury and style. Nissan Road, Pathfinder, or Armada, go find your next big adventure. Shop nissanusa.com. So back here in segment 3 with Maggie Hendricks, and before we get to Sierra Dillard, let's recklessly speculate, because I've heard that's a good thing to do in media circles. So I want to just talk about there's this guard on Iowa in college, and her name is Caitlin Clark.
Caitlin Clark. I think I've maybe heard it. Yeah.
Under the radar, but people are starting to kind of pick up on her skill. So here's the thing, right? The part of me that's like thinking chronologically is like, oh my God, how incredible would it be to have Diana Taurasi and Caitlin Clark be teammates and have that kind of legacy deliver? Because we all think, I think myself included, I think you include, I know I do, that Caitlin Clark's going to win a bunch of gold medals for USA basketball as well. And being able to have that link directly is significant in the way I think about it is Christy Rampone, now Christy Pierce, who went from the 99 team to the 2015 team. And as a result, had overlap with a lot of the forerunners, some of the 96ers, and somebody who played with people who are on the team to this day. Yeah. On the soccer side. That said, Caitlin Clark, from a roster perspective, she would operate in the space that Diana Taurasi operates, basically. So there's probably not a path for it. I'm just going to kind of throw it out there. Like, can you also recklessly speculate about this?
I can, because the thing is Caitlin Clark hasn't been involved in Team USA stuff. I think the last time she did Team USA stuff was 2021 for a U19, U17, something like that. And part of the whole making the team involves you have to be involved in the pool. So, and Caitlin Clark is very busy in college, and she should be focused on that, because whether this is her final year or her second to last year of college, this is the only time she can do that. Team USA stuff will happen in the future. I think we're all absolutely confident in that. So I've had almost every time I tweet something about Team USA, I get fans who are like, well, how come Caitlin Clark's not there? Like, you're literally watching her play for Iowa. That's why she's not there. Like, she needs, she can't be in two places at once. If there's anybody in the world who can, it would be Caitlin Clark, but I'm pretty sure it's against the law of physics. So let's just enjoy her, and then we'll enjoy her on the Team USA stuff in the future. The last out of college one.
I just got to, like, you're bringing a lot of facts instead of speculation. It's not, I don't know. It's not, it's disappointing, but do go on.
Sorry. Because it's going to be another fact.
Oh no.
The last player to come straight out of college and go and be on Team USA was Breanna Stewart in 2016. And I think there's important differences with Breanna Stewart and Caitlin Clark. Number one, Breanna Stewart had the size already. And I think Caitlin Clark would be fine at the international level, but I also think like she can use some seasoning when she gets to the WNBA. And so I think that'll be valuable for her looking towards LA 2028. And Gino was the coach of the 2016 team. And so I don't think he was on the selection, but I mean, come on. But there is actually also some value in that, that Breanna Stewart didn't come in completely green to that coach or to the players, because she was coming from UConn and she knew the coach.
So what I'm hearing you say is you believe USA Basketball should replace Cheryl with Lisa Bluder ahead of the summer. Is that what you're calling?
You're going to get me in trouble with Cheryl, man.
Going to use, and yeah, we'll. That's a direct quote.
I love Lisa Bluder, but don't you get me in trouble with Cheryl. I still owe her cookies.
Cheryl's done okay, I think, as head coach as well. Her job is probably safe. So, all right, fine. Use the facts over reckless speculation. For the record, I don't disagree with a word of what you said. Although I will just put it out there as like a marker. Caitlin Clark is not going to struggle when she comes to the WNBA, and if she comes to the WNBA, she will be an all-star and an elite top 10 player in the league her first year. So I'm just gonna. I know.
You're putting it out there.
There's a hot take for you. So we've got one. We tend to go fact over hot take, but I'm comfortable with that one. So we'll see. We'll see if I'm right. I said the same thing. I said Aaliyah Boston was going to be that level of player straight out of college, and she was.
You were right about that.
The number of players, like the elite players who aren't elite in year one, if you go back, like vanishingly small. Like Asia Wilson was in year one. Breanna Stewart was in year one. They got better. But Diana Taurasi was in year one. Sue Bird was in year one. Elena Deladon was in year one. Like,
see, I think there's a difference though between the bigs and, I don't want to say the littles, but the smaller players. But I think it's easier when
Taurasi and Bird.
I know, that's when you brought in Taurasi and Bird. I was like, damn it! Now he's stupid facts.
I'm just saying. Listen, we don't know what Kelsey Plum would have been in year one if she'd actually gotten playing time.
Right.
I could do like a week of shows on year one for Kelsey Plum in San Antonio, but we'll save that for another time. We're almost out of time. Sierra Dillard, I mean, I love covering her in college and we said this offline, in an appropriately sized WNBA, she'd have a really solid career there because she does a lot of really good things. Well, Cheryl actually drafted her in the second round coming out of school. But take me through, I know you have a piece on right now, because it's Monday,
Yes.
on the Olympic Channel, right? Where do people see it? How do people see it? Let's plug that.
I'll go Olympics.com and just look for Sierra Dillard.
Do it. Or just follow Maggie everywhere.
Yes.
I
Yeah,
mean,
I will share
that
it.
sounds sinister. I mean, on social.
I was just out at breakfast. You should follow me there, like all of those places. No, I'm on Twitter and Blue Sky and Instagram, and I think that's it. So
Where
follow
it's
me.
appropriate to follow Maggie Hendricks. Please follow Maggie Hendricks. But Sierra, so like you had a chance to talk to Sierra. Take me through it.
I did. And I asked her, like, what is because she's playing for Team Senegal. And I asked her, what is your connection to Senegal? She said, I didn't have one. She was playing for an Egyptian basketball team in Alexandria.
Mm-hmm.
And the president of Senegal basketball saw her playing in a tournament in Mozambique and said, would you ever think of playing for the Senegalese national team? And she said, I had no idea that I could even do that. And he said, yeah, you can. And then she went and spent like 3 months last summer in Senegal and in Dakar and had like a wonderful time and just then started playing with this team. And, Senegal has a long way to go, but the building blocks are there. They have a great coach who sounds a little bit like Inigo Montoya. And I had to like try to put that out of my head in press conferences, but like they have a great coach. They have some great players. And Sierra is like one of those building block players who really believes in growing Senegal basketball. And so I could see good things out of them in the future.
When Nigeria ultimately wins in this one, just take me through that scene before we go.
It was Nigeria, like they're coached by Rena Wakama, who is an assistant coach at, I believe, Stony Brook. Okay. She is, and she just kept the team calm. Even they were down most of the game, but she just kept them calm and focused on getting back into the game. And it was kind of any of those times you see an upstart team starting to beat the more powerful team. The more powerful team just kind of stayed on the course and kept focused and kept playing their game until finally it turned into their game.
Just remarkable. A qualifying tournament, like you said, that really did matter, not for USA basketball, but in all of these different ways. So someone else who matters, Maggie Hendricks, MaggieHendricks, for those who are listening but not watching us on YouTube. Follow everything Maggie does. She's the best there is. We love having you here. We'll have you back soon. To our listeners, thank you for making us your first listen every day. We will, of course, be back with you tomorrow, as we are 6 days a week at Locked On Women's Basketball. Until then, I'm Howard Megdal, wishing all of you a wonderful Monday.
Ogunbowale for the win.
You are Locked On Women's Basketball, your daily podcast on women's basketball.